everyone. Thank you so much for joining us today. We'll be talking about our new book with Multilingual Matters, Person-to-Person Peacebuilding, Intercultural Communication, and English Language Teaching, Voices from the Virtual Intercultural Borderlands. I'm Jo Minett, one of the authors of this book, and I should note that the front cover the picture was taken in Afghanistan in 2011 when I was working there. And it's a picture of Afghan graffiti, which said, "Bring peace into your heart."
Welcome everyone, this is Didem Ekici. This book is published in 2022, but the history goes back to 2013 when I was a graduate student and volunteering for a nonprofit peacebuilding organization that aims to build peace in Afghanistan through online English language teaching. At that time, Sarah was trying to create opportunities for her TESOL students to have some experience in teaching English. And we said, why don't we bring students in Afghanistan and TESOL students in the US together in an online setting? And that's how we started.
Hi, everyone. I am Sarah. And so I was the one who was working with the TESOL students and then collaborating with Didem. And the voices from the intercultural borderlands that we share with you are those of the TESOL students and also the Afghan participants. As part of their coursework, the graduate students were writing written reflections, and they wrote 6 reflections every semester. And Didem and I started looking at those reflections, and we saw some themes emerging. We saw that the participants were writing about teaching, they were writing about technology, they were writing about what they were learning about Afghanistan, and they were writing about intercultural communication.
When I heard about Sarah and Didem's project, I was so excited. I had worked several times in Afghanistan on different English language aid projects. And so I asked them if they'd be willing to show me their data, which they were very generously. They agreed to show me the data. And what I saw within it, which really stood out to me, was all of the references to war and to peace. So we decided to expand the project. I began to interview both Afghan learners in Afghanistan along with US-based tutors. And that's how we came to the framework and focus of person-to-person peacebuilding. We do use 2 separate frameworks within the book, which you can read about. And they help us look at the data, or they helped us look at the data through a peacebuilding lens.
And the frameworks that Amy mentioned help us look at 3 different dimensions of person-to-person peacebuilding: personal, relational, and structural. And so we'd like to share with you some of the voices from the book. So first, to look at the personal dimension of peacebuilding, which has to do with an individual re-examining their beliefs and their views of the world. Here is a quote from a Ukrainian-born tutor. And she wrote before meeting her Afghan counterpart about her stereotypes, and the fact that she was concerned a little bit about working with someone from Afghanistan. Here you see what she wrote after their first interaction, and that she's saying that she no longer feels afraid of raising what she says is any topic. And she even points to the fact that she and her Afghan counterpart were talking about war and violence in their countries. We can see that through their language, they've created an in-group by sharing their experiences.
And then comes the relational dimension of the peacebuilding framework. In chapter 5, we analyze the participants' voices to explore how intercultural communication contribute to the relational dimension of peacebuilding. Dialogue was the foundation of the relationship building, as participants preferred to relate with each other, sometimes through similarities and sometimes through differences. It's also important to note that the role of empathy was crucial in this process of developing relationships, and it frequently emerged in the data. For example, as you see on my screen now, one of our participants explained how she felt for her student during the month of Ramadan when her student was fasting and joining the Zoom session on a very hot day in August.
So to hear some Afghan voices, at least one very quickly from the book, at the structural dimension of peacebuilding. As one example, I interviewed an Afghan woman. She was a child protection officer, which is something similar to a social worker. And in this quote, she describes how her tutor helped her understand guidelines in English as she implemented what are called father-daughter hours, which was an international initiative intended to push back against generations of gender violence present in so many Afghan families. Here, another example of the structural dimension of peace building, we hear from a US-born tutor, and she learns that her students' educator parents who had been threatened with beheading under the Taliban in the late 90s, those parents instructed their son, quote, that peace will come through the ink and a pen rather than bullets from a gun. The tutor goes on to share this line with everyone. So here we see just a glimpse of how peace building can become embedded in the structural force of education. And also the fact that the tutor is sharing the line goes to show this creation of a new discourse chain that's being spread. We would also want to say very quickly here that most of our participants in Afghanistan, tragically, are still in Afghanistan. So since the fall of August, in August 21, of Afghanistan back to the Taliban, it's been a terrible situation. A few have made it to the US, but most remain in hiding. And we are very grateful that we can share some of their voices in this book.
We'd like to thank Multilingual Matters Channel View Publications for providing us this opportunity to share the voices of our participants with a larger audience. Also, special thanks to our editors, Michael Bayram and Anthony Liddicoat, for their contributions to our book. Thank you very much.
And thank you to all of you for your interest in the book, interest in these voices. As I hope you can tell, this book is something that we love talking about. So if you would like to talk more about it, you'd like to be in touch with us about our work on this project or other projects, please be in touch. You have our emails on the screen. And thank you again for your interest and your time.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.